Our final email comes to us from Brant from Farmington Hills, Michigan. It says, howdy 572, quick question for you. As it seems like some/all of you are achievement/trophy hunters, or were at some point, I'm curious what are your most difficult games you completed for achievements trophies? And if you no longer hunt for completion, was there any game that broke you on it? No game broke me on it. What I'll tell you what it did for me was I got older and realized one day, like, man, why am I spending 80 hours collecting this stupid fucking thing to get a point? You know, right. Like a point for what? You know, so at some point I changed my ideology from getting thousands and everything on the Xbox to, if I really fucking like this game, I will go for it. Like the last game I remember doing that for was Control. So for me now, it's just, I just play through the game as is. If I really enjoy it, I'll go back, get it that, like, or the trophies, like the Horizon. I did it for that. Stuff like that. If I'm really enjoying having a good time, Days Gone's another good example of that.
You prefer when games have trophies that give you an excuse to do stuff you might not do. You know what I mean? Like to go through, do these side quests and get these certain collectibles and stuff that aren't outrageous. That isn't like collect 400 of something, you know? I
can tell you my most difficult.
Yeah, do it.
Guitar Hero Metallica Expert Plus drums. Because when that game came out, I was at that level of playing the drums on guitar, because the way that game worked for me and our, you know, friend Ross, as you know, we started with Guitar Hero and then Rock Band came out and it was kind of like, well, we can get this Rock Band game, seems pretty cool, but like, okay, we'll get Rock Band. One of us will play guitar. One of us will play bass. Well, you know, we went through, built up from medium up to expert, and then it became, okay, we're kind of tired of that. What if we went out and get this fucking drum set? You know, like what's the next level? And then it became that, and then it turned into that huge. Like, you remember how big Rock Band 2 was, and getting the DLC songs. There was that summer, I want to say it was summer of 2009, where if you bought Pepsi, every cap had a code that you can use to get a free song. And at the time I worked at a dollar store, so I bought a lot of shit Pepsi and got a lot of songs. But yeah, at that peak moment of Rock Band, and then like Guitar Hero Metallica hit right around that time, was like my peak of playing drums. And somehow I did that. So, but we were doing long, like 4 or 5 hour sessions of that fucking game. Like, we were just destroying it. So, yeah, that I would say that is probably one of my most difficult and most challenging, was getting that. But I'm trying to think of other things that were like anything else that's more of just becomes a numbers game of like how many hours you want to spend. Some of
them just become time sinks.
It's not a skill thing.
Right. Because I was trying to think of mine before so I used to be a big gamer score guy, and I would try to get thousands and a lot of stuff. And eventually I just kind of got, I don't necessarily say anything broke me, but I got kind of burnt out.
You get burned out and you get older and you realize like, why am I going to sit here and grind this for hours when
you got to do dumb shit you don't necessarily need to do, all that stuff. And then eventually when I became more of a PlayStation person, I am more into like platinums and stuff now, just because I feel like Gamerscore became kind of this arbitrary thing where the numbers don't necessarily line up with like how hard something is. And 1,000, not every game had 1,000, and it became 1,250 and 1,750, and the number stuff.
Odd numbers in there, and that pissed me off.
The number stuff just got really fucked. Whereas on PlayStation, platinums mean something, and it makes more sense. And like your trophy level is more of a tangible number. Nothing on PlayStation has broken me yet. Like Rebirth, I will do it at some point. I will, just because I did the first one. I'm still not done with the first one because I still have to do that Weiss fight on hard, which I told you it's like Dark Souls level type shit where he has certain attacks you have to read and do certain moves against, all while trying to like burn him down. I'm sure it's possible. It's just like I tried it a couple times and went, fuck it, I'm done for now. In terms of like stuff that was really hard that I've done, I've never thought of this one as hard, but I guess I get it from another standpoint because it was not hard for me. But so the game The Witness, I have the platinum in that game.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily like an impressive feat because you could just look up the solution to all of the puzzles and do it. Except the final puzzle in the game is kind of like a gauntlet run where you have to do like 7 or 8 of the puzzle styles from before in the game in one run. Like basically you start a record player and you haven't told a song is done to finish it. Those are randomized. So you cannot look up a solution. And it's not very long. You have to be paying attention and know how to solve all these puzzles. And one of them is a maze that changes every time. And you have to run through it and remember.
So is it a lot of trial and error?
In theory, it should be. And I've read stories about people who just can't seem to finish it. I did it on my second try. So like it was never difficult for me, but if you look up stuff about that game, like
it becomes that way.
It's a great game, and that game is some of like the regular puzzles are insane when it comes to like figuring stuff out. I did all of it myself, but this final thing, I was prepared for it to be a nightmare, and I got it on second try. So I just got super lucky with how the game randomized my puzzles. Yeah. Or maybe just because I played a shitload of that game and did everything in it. But everything else comes down to like time sync. Like when I had that plus extra, that Warriors All-Stars was on there, which is like a Dynasty Warriors game, right? Where it's like a crossover, all that stuff. There is a trophy in that game, which is one of the rarer ones I have, where you have to – there's 2 trophies in that game that are insane because the game does not track them super well for you. Oh, yeah. And one of them is random. So one of them is like get an event with every character in the bathhouse. So like you'd pick to go to the bathhouse and you'd have to get a scene with somebody else, right? There's like 30 characters. Oh, and it's random. Oh, and even if you set it up to where your odds are better, it might not happen. And if you don't get it, you can't reset. You have to go play another battle and go back and try again. That alone took me days just because the game would not give it to me. And it was driving me insane. I was like, am I doing something wrong? At first, when I read it, I thought it meant get every interaction with everyone, which would have been unfathomable. Like that could not have been done. Yeah. But I got that one. And then the last one is do every possible battle in that game. And that game is nothing but branching paths. And like, if you do something in this level, it might turn this thing off and you can't ever see it again. And then you got to restart and then you unlock a new character. And then you have to go to this other thing and beat this. Even with a guide, like showing me how things unlocked and where to go and how to do this, the game does not do a good enough job of telling you what you've done. I essentially had to replay almost everything in that game 3 times to figure out the last one I did. So like that's the kind of stuff in like trophy hunting and stuff that will break you.
I mean, the other thing that killed for me in the 360 era was anything that had multiplayer. That's tacked on shitty
always
multiplayer.
Been the worst.
Or when it was stupid shit like Gears 2 and 3 with their seriously, 2.0, 3.0 achievements where it's just like, this is dumb.
Only certain people are ever meant to get those. Remember Tiger Woods for Xbox 360, like the first one?
Was the one where somebody had to hold the trophy?
You had to be ranked like number 1 in the game.
The one I always think of was Fight Night Round 4, I want to say.
That was a bad one?
That was a bad one because it was the same thing where somebody had to physically hold that belt online.
There was
you're not gonna get that.
Remember the NBA Live one, the infamous one, where it's like being online with 1,000 people at the same time, but nobody bought the game?
Yeah.
So I actually have that trophy because before the servers were going to get turned off, there became this big like thing online where it's like, we're all going to be online this day from this time to this time, log in and just do it. And I actually got it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's just, I like trophies because they do sometimes encourage me to do different things in games. But like Forspoken, this list isn't difficult. It just sucks.
It just sucks.
Do every monument, take every picture, do all this stuff. Like, thank God I don't have to open every treasure chest. If I had to open every treasure chest in this game, I would tell you right now, no.
I got a good one. I got a good one for you. Friend of the show, Ross. tell you the game that broke him. You might know. I don't know if you know this story or not.
I know it is Dead Rising.
You know what the game is? Dead Rising. The 7-day survivor. The way we had this set up, and you have to remember this was 360, so it's not like
it's like 2006.
Because I did it on the Xbox One version, but it's easy because if you want to, you can cheese it by just putting your system in rest mode when you're not playing.
It's not as punishable.
So it's not really that hard. Still a really fun and cool mode in that game though. But in the 360 day, you can do that. So your system was going to be on for like 17, 18 hours. So at the time, he had 2 MacBooks. And we had cameras set up. So like he could walk away, go downstairs, have the camera set up so you'd see what's going on wherever he's hiding. So he goes downstairs to make a sandwich and he's at like maybe hour 14 or 15 and he's hidden in the theater of the like in the theater of that part of the mall. He's downstairs making a sandwich. Guy's back turned to the laptop that has the thing on there. You just hear a whack. Turns around, his character's fucking dead.
Oh.
After like hour 14 or 15. And I just remember the because like that game forever sat at 980 out of 1,000.
Yep.
And it was just saying like, I'm never going to do that.
Remember,
again.
I have Lost Odyssey at that level too, because at some point during the game, I missed the one missable item.
Mm-hmm.
And so while I love that game,
that's a bitch of a game.
I would love that game, and I would love to play it. I would love a remaster of that game. It would never happen.
I would love a remaster.
I would love it. I will never. I would have to replay the game entirely. And like what sucks. On a save I've already finished, 15 years ago. Like there's no way. I can't do that. I also really hate games where if you beat it on, you have to beat it on normal to unlock hard, and there's a trophy for each. Or ones where it's like if you beat it on hard, it doesn't count as beating it on normal. Like fuck off.
Yeah,
like, I did.
I was thinking of that 360 Star Ocean game, The Last Hope.
Brutal
game, because
the battle trophies for that, because awful. So many of those things are random.
Yeah, anything that was randomized would be a bitch.
Yeah,
to
get
or do.
Most Final Fantasy games easy. It's I actually have a lot of achievements in Final Fantasy 11, which is super weird.
Because like the 360 version,
because I was able to play with my PC character. My PC character had been around for years.
So you could move them over.
So you would log into the 360 version and you would go to a specific NPC in one of 2 towns.
Okay.
And you would talk to them and they would have special dialogue where you would be like, oh, I've done this. And then you do that and you get the little blink. So I actually have like 600 out of 1,000 in Final Fantasy 11, which to contemplate that now is what it would take to get 1,000 is crazy. You had to basically level every job to max.
Yeah.
Which in 11,
I'm sure
14 not hard. Not hard to do. 11, it's fucking crazy. Yeah, and then shit gets turned off in games where like Final Fantasy 15. Online. Final Fantasy 15, you technically cannot get every trophy in that game because one of the DLCs is deactivated because they took it out and made it its own game. But those trophies still exist. There is technically a way to do it. I'd have to link my system to my computer and run it through a server to download an old patch and then unplug my system, and then I could get them. But like, my God. But I love trophies. Like, what was the last game I did where the one I'm working on right now is I'm finally going to do Power Wash Simulator because I did do 5 gold challenges. I was struggling with that for so long. I only had 1. And then yesterday I was like, we're going to give it a shot. I got 3 of them like right away. So I need 1 more.
That's not bad.
Yeah. So.
Oh, nice.
And some of those are hard.
I remember another good 360. Like there are definitely some where you could do like glitches and stuff to get the 1,000. I remember one that was broken for me was Wanted Weapons of Fate.
You could cheese the time attack.
Maybe. Yeah. I fucked that one up though, and that one just remained at like 9 something. I was like, I'm not going to play. Yeah, because you had to play through majority of the game to get to that point.
You had to beat. I'm
not going to do that again.
You had to beat the game first, and then what you could do is you could load the time attack thing, beat the first level, and I think it was something about like you immediately quit. Like it might even been something like quit weird, to the dash, and then you can load the last level. And it starts your timer from when the timer ended. I want to say so. Yeah, quote unquote, beat the game in like 14 minutes.
Yeah,
it's wild.
There was a lot of wild stuff back in the 360 day.
Yeah,
that and there was ways you could get around certain things too. By the time you got to the Xbox One, the PS4, like you couldn't do a lot of that stuff anymore.
No.
So, and now, like I said, for me, it's just, you know, being older and stuff. It's just like, well, do I want to spend 20 more hours in this video game world picking up X, you know, amount of boxes for this?
Right.
No, not really. So, but if I like your game, or if it's giving me a reason to see something more, or like a game like Control where I wanted to read every fucking piece of information because it was all so fascinating. Yeah. So like even Alan Wake 2, like I did not get everything done in that game, but I picked up a majority of the stuff because it's the same way.
Right.
Like everything you're picking up in that game is just fascinating.
That's on my wish list for whenever it goes cheap.
I imagine this year, because I didn't put it in here for the news, but like it's clearly not selling at the level that they wanted it to.
It's like 20% off right now.
Not that it's going to affect making their next thing, because they did just confirm like one of the they're starting like full production this summer of the Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes, and then the next thing after that is whatever this Control sequel is.
Good.
So, which is what I want.
That's what I want. Yeah.
That's what I want really bad. So, but as always, send your emails into podcast572@gmail.com. You know what? Send in games that broke you on achievements. I want to hear that.
That's a good.
Tell me a video game, like either achievement, trophy, whatever. Tell me what
it was
broke
like a single trophy that finally made you give up.
You were just like, I'm done with this. Broke your controller. Maybe it was Dark Souls.
That's great.